position. Annie Power at the last race down. Annie Power has gone, but in front of the last length, Melanie Light.
Try the first time, they're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Loughlin, and Hoyt
Yeah, from Archibald, Hardy Eustace defends his title, but Archibald is flat out in second. Then he's followed up right by, he's beginning to come up. He's drifting off the true line. He hangs fire, and this was coming home. Springs are going to win his fourth Betfair Chase, and Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tailed Off, episode number 22. As a reminder, this is no Hosbug podcast that dives headfirst into the wonderfully weird world of horse racing. So today we're back to our usual agenda. We'll cover trainers in form. We'll do update on Callout. We've got Anoraks Corner, a new segment which talks about some of the gripes and groans of horse racing. We've also got Race Name of the Week, a new segment, Stewards Enquiry. And then today we'll do a little deep dive into the most quirky and challenging horse race courses in the UK. And then we'll do a quick preview of the weekend. How are we doing, boys? We all good? We had a good week?
Okay, mate. Yeah, all good, thank you. How's everything in France?
All good, yeah. Vive la France. I am in France.
In France.
And I also got a bit of a man flu, so apologies for my my throat, but hopefully
Bit
it'll
of
be
wine,
back.
bit of sun, mate. Sort you right
Exactly. Bit of cheese. It's all good.
out. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking.
All right, let's get into trainers in form. So we had a very good update last week. So for those that didn't see last week's pod, I think we were over 63 up, something like that.
64,
we're taking a bit,
I think it was at
64, 65, yeah. So we're taking a little bit of a dip, but how are we doing, Al?
Yeah, so we were just off our peak basically. Last week we got up to the heady heights of 66.48 points up, but I've kept the tips coming. Unfortunately, I wouldn't even say we've hit the crossbar because most of them are around pretty shite, if I'm honest. But I did a little look back at how many we've put up since we started, and we've had 60 tips in total since we started in January. Through all of those wins and losses, we're still 56.08 points up pod to date, which I think is a pretty healthy place to be in after all those tips. Could be 60 points down, so that's a big swing.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we talked about yesterday. Long term, it's all about a long-term game, isn't it? So,
100%.
yeah, good effort. Good. All right, so you boys had a nice little trip a couple of days ago. How was Callout?
Last night, mate.
Last night? Well, I don't know when this pod's going out, so I'll say last few days.
Good call. Yeah, probably a wise decision.
But now you've ruined that, so...
What, ruin the
How
illusion?
was it then?
Yeah.
Ruin the illusion.
We're not live, you say?
I put some pictures in of me, Duncan, Pete in the parade ring, which I'm sure you'll put up. But I think we'll start with the positives.
It looks a bit voyeur.
Yeah, that's
Those
Rosie.
pictures,
She was
it looks like
outside the
someone's in a
parade ring.
bush.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like celeb spotting.
We basically were.
Jack in the background taking no interest in what we're saying. That's right in the first picture. Yeah, I think we'll start with the positives. We've obviously covered it quite a lot on the pod in terms of where I've been with the horse, and we've done Brighton a few times and Lingfield and the like. So to get to a place like Epsom was just incredible. Great experience. It's one of the main courses in the country, of course, the home of the Derby. And that's the first time I think I'd been, certainly with the flat horse, to a jockey club racecourse, because the others are owned by the other major group called Arena Racing Company, who tend to be more like cut corners and just run it like a basic business, hence Brighton. But Epsom was just very swanky. We had a lovely owner's kind of enclosure on this first floor of the Queen Elizabeth grandstand, balcony over one side over the races and another one over the parade ring. We had a slap-up dinner, and the whole experience was really nice, to be fair, until, as it seems to be at the minute, the horse ran, and then I don't know what you can say. I mean, he broke okay-ish, but within about 5 strides he was at the back, and he just never laid a glove on them. He just couldn't lay up with them. Maybe he was outpaced again, going downhill. I know he's won at Brighton, but it doesn't seem to be his strong suit, and the only one day he did win at Brighton was quite soft ground, and he basically outstayed them when they went a bit too hard up front, whereas last time when I was at Brighton they went way too quick for him, and he couldn't get involved. At least that day he did plug on, and the jockey George Wood said that he found a bit extra towards the end, so it gives you confidence you've still got a racehorse to sort of go to war with. But yesterday was very much like the lights went out, and I mean it was great to have Ross O'Ryan, one of the best jockeys in the UK, on board, but he just sort of held his hands up, I think, after a couple of furlongs and thought, I'm never going to get close to these. And he sort of tailed off, I think, as the name suggests, 30 lengths.
Hashtag tailed off. Well, thank you for representing the pod.
Callout's doing his bit to get the tailed off name. I think it was about 30 lengths in total. I was quite disappointed last night, I have to say, after having such a lovely evening. Jack doesn't think he handled the course. My personal opinion is, well, partially that, but also I think George Wood said last time he needs a mile, and Ross has said he needs a bit give in the ground, which is quite confusing because when he had a load of give in the ground at Lingfield, he also bombed out. But then he did have a bit of rain when he won at Brighton, so there seems to be a sweet spot of what he will enjoy. I think we need to get off these rapid downhill tracks, stop running them at 7 furlongs, get him in the race where they don't go mad, so maybe a mile on a flatter track, and just give him a chance to be in a race and then see what happens. Whereas the last couple of times he's been absolutely taken off his feet before he's had any chance to get involved.
Starts too quick and then it's hard to catch up. Yeah,
he's just cooked, and then I think he potentially sulks a bit. It seems to be the vibe that when things haven't gone his way, he's like, well, I throw the towel in, basically. So it's quite disappointing.
Sounds like every guy that ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess like you say, there's still hope in there, isn't there? And don't forget, he's won a race, came second the one before, so he's obviously got it in the legs. But it's just trying to find the right races, I guess.
Yeah, and he's also had some. I phoned Pete when I was in the pub after coming back yesterday, and I had a good chat about it. And Pete was saying he's had 6 runs now since we started in May, so that's starting to
big
toss up a little bit. And certainly when he ran at Lingfield, he was done and he needed a break. And then, but he only had a couple of weeks, and then went to Brighton where he did a bit better. And then it's not that long since then to Epsom, and I don't know whether that's catching up with him a little bit. Obviously, I want him to run so I can see him more often, but at the same time, kind of want the best for him.
Yeah, you want him to compete though, don't you?
Yeah, so Jack was kind of saying today in his voice note update that, I mean, the horse is fine, which is the main thing, but he might try and wait for a bit of rain. If you look at the weather forecast at the moment in the UK, it doesn't seem like there will be anytime soon.
Right, tomorrow, got bloody amber weather warnings everywhere.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Get him in on that.
Yeah, how's he fare under stormy weather?
Yeah.
Well, well, fingers crossed, mate. I think maybe a bit of break, another longer break might be good, and then see how it goes, I guess. But at least you're getting the owner's experience, you're getting the owner's enclosure, you're getting the ups and downs, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think even though, I know it's obviously been shit for you in terms of the experience of the horse, but to a degree. But at the same time, it kind of shows people that really you're not going to win every race every time. They are animals, then it's not going to happen. And this is what being an owner is like. It has the ups, it has the downs. But like you say, if you can enjoy the experience, and to be fair, I know you've obviously been to Epsom before, but it's the first time there, and it's only around the corner from us. But it's an unbelievable course, so nice. And as I said, being in the owner's enclosure piece is right experience, really, really good. So well done to Epsom for that. But how on earth they hold 40-odd thousand people there for the Derby is beyond me. It just doesn't seem big enough. But they somehow managed to. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But it's an amazing course. Really, 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 really cool.
What you're saying there, Pete did say when we had him on to talk about the ownership experience, he was chatting to someone at the races and they'd been an owner for over 20 years and all the horses they'd never had a winner. So the fact we've had a win is massive.
2 horses, couple of wins.
I think I just need to not go and then he wins. That seems to be the thing.
Yeah.
I think the step up to a mile, do you reckon he'd even... I think the mile is absolutely a must. I think there's no doubt about that. When I realised, because I thought he was over a mile last night, but when I saw he was over 7, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. But I almost wonder if he'd even get further, like a mile 2 or something.
Well, if you look at his breeding, he's Soldier's Call, which was, I think he won the Windsor Castle. He was a 2-year-old sprinter out of a Dandy Man mare, which was another sprinter. So when we got him, I just thought he's going to be a 6 furlong horse. But if you watch his racing, he doesn't sort of perform like that. And his last run for the previous trainer at Southall on the weather was over a mile on a sort of flat surface, and he was staying on quite strongly towards the end. So the evidence is there, isn't it, to try it?
Good. All right. Well, thanks, boys. I'm glad you were there. Keep us updated, El. Let's get on to Anoraks Corner, which was the news, but I think Anoraks Corner is probably more realistic. El, you've got a topic for us?
Yeah, this is a big topic. We'll try and keep it brief.
This is basically an opportunity for El to get into the Anorak, that is horse racing.
It's therapeutic, if nothing else. So obviously we've had a change of government in the last year, and as they would do,
it's getting political.
I was going to say, are you asleep yet, Matt?
Jesus.
You done? I'll continue. You wanted Anorak Corner. This is Anorak Corner, all right? Like, no apologies for it. The government, in their infinite wisdom, are looking at obviously trying to generate revenue for the exchequer and are looking at ways to do that. Currently, there are two types of taxes that exist in gambling. You have kind of sports betting, if you like, horse racing at 15% levy, and then the sort of online slots and casino games that many people seem to get addicted to, that's a much higher tax at 21%. And they're looking at harmonising those two to have what they're calling a remote betting and gaming duty tax, which they haven't exactly said what it will be, but everyone can assume they're hardly going to bring the 21% down to the 15%. They're obviously going to bring the 15% up to the 21%. The reason why that's important for horse racing is that, I mean, it struggles for funding at the best times. And one of the main sources of funding for the sport is people betting on it. Because all the bookmakers pay a levy. So any bets that they take, they pay a kind of tax, if you like, to fund horse racing. It's an absolute broken model and is the reason why there's loads of problems in the sport. But it's so crucial to the sort of survival of the sport that if you started to raise the tax even more, the BHA have estimated that it would cost horse racing 66 million quid, which, is a big hole to fill. I found out that there are actually 85,000 sort of related jobs in horse racing in the UK. So it's a massive industry.
Mad.
It generates billions for the exchequer each year. And
Wow.
it's it's not just a nice little recreational pursuit. It's a massive industry, and that would put a lot of people's jobs at risk if cuts were being made across the sport to sort of fund that increase in tax. So the BHA yesterday submitted their formal response back to government to basically say you can do that to other sports, or obviously the online slots we all know is a very different type of gambling than actually picking out a horse and betting on it. And they're trying to say horse racing is to be treated differently, but I doubt that they're going to have the sort of knowledge in the government to understand all of that complexity.
No. And, it's very political, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, this is all driven by the deficit that's been apparently spoken about so much. So, and this is just another area that's being hit by it, isn't it? So, yeah. Well, yeah. Let's try and keep across that and see how it goes. So they submitted a response. So I guess a couple of months we'll see what comes back of it. All right, good. Thanks, El. Good. Well done for not keeping it reasonably short for Anorak Corner. I'm impressed. Let's get on to race name of the week. I guess this is a one-off segment. Maybe we'll do these regularly. Let us know if you want to hear these, or if you've got any good submissions. El, I think you put this in, didn't you? I've seen some interesting race names, and I must admit I'm very taken aback by them. But this is interesting.
Yeah, I just see them, like you say, every other week, and I just think maybe we'll chuck this in as a bit of a regular feature if there's something quite funny. I was telling you boys about every time me and Dad used to go to Newton Abbot, which is in the southwest of the country in the summer. There used to be this guy, Dave something or other, and he used to sponsor a race to celebrate his divorce with his ex-missus. It was like Dave celebrates 10 years divorce today, and it would just always get a massive cheer from the crowd. So I think it's quite funny because obviously you always have like the betting company sponsor races and various businesses, but sometimes there seems to be carte blanche in what you can do. So there was one I did like the Hugo Spritz handicap the other week, which is a particular beverage of mine.
Great name.
But I just spotted this one today. It's called the Don't Stop Me Now handicap, but that's it. Okay, what does that mean? Who is that?
Don't stop me now, handicap.
That
Is
would
it
cost
sponsored
you.
by ABBA or something like that?
That would cost you thousands of pounds, and that's what you've come up with, and no one's going to know what the hell that means.
Love it.
I just thought it was so
Love
random.
it. Someone's just a big Queen fan, aren't they?
I was going to say it's a Queen or ABBA or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I will look out for that each week.
Have you googled "Don't Stop Me Now" handicap to see like what the sponsor is or not?
I don't think they'd print that sort of information, to be honest.
No. Interesting.
The only thing I can think is if there's a band on, a Queen tribute band on after the race.
It's gotta be,
maybe.
surely.
Then they probably didn't even have a sponsor, so they just made that up. Maybe
That'd be madness.
Love it. All right, good. Well, let's keep this coming because there's some crackers out there. So yeah, that's good. Lastly, then.
So what happens at the photo finish?
Stewards
Enquiry. You're going to talk a little about Oson Murphy, are you?
Yeah, well, we did say we weren't going to talk about this the other week but
we're going to talk about it.
But I can't let this go by without mentioning it because it's sort of Twitter blew up as a result of this interview. For those of you who don't know, he was very highly suspected of, although no one was named in the kind of initial investigation at the time earlier in the year, that he had been involved in a drink driving crash. And and he'd injured the other person, but also the girl that was in the car with him. And then eventually it was announced, and even though everybody on Twitter was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't, jump to conclusions" and all the rest of it, he got handed down quite a hefty fine, but didn't get any judicial sentence or anything. And the BHA have allowed him to continue to ride, but have put heavy sanctions on his licence, but we don't know what they are. Matt Chapman and Oisin Murphy do have a very strange pally-pally relationship. And Matt Chapman does these interviews with him where it looks like he's being a real kind of scrupulous journalist, but he's actually just sort of giving him a soft landing, if you like. And he did this sort of 4 or 5 minutes. So I posted the screenshot. If you go to the Out of the Races Twitter, you'll see the full interview. He did 4 or 5 minutes where basically this is the first time he's spoken publicly about what is obviously an embarrassing and horrific incident for those involved. And he basically just, became the victim of his own situation and said the media were out to get him. And I mean, the quote that they put here, it was a nightmare for everyone involved. Well, no shit, mate. You were drunk and you smashed your car. He didn't apologise. He didn't show humility or remorse. He didn't sort of hold himself account for his actions. He just tried to basically say that everyone's been on his back. They're making this worse than it is, and, you should feel sorry for me, basically, because my life's a nightmare. And I'm thinking, that is, and literally, you should read the comments. There's so many.
I mean, I get it. Like they must get a lot of slack, but you got to come out and say I'm sorry and it was my fault and take accountability. Surely.
Yeah. So that was my stupid
If Rasen to ride Callout next time out and see that awkward moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it wins.
Yeah, right.
More hope if he's drunk, to be honest.
Right. Crash everyone off the track.
Good. All right. Thanks, boys. Right. Let's get into then the deep dive. So I thought it'd be a good idea to do a little focus on the actual courses that we talk about. I think Ellen and Duncan have both done, I think the last few months there's been a preview where you talk about the course, and it's quite interesting, the intricacies and the complexities of each course. So I thought, why not do a little deep dive on the 5 toughest courses we think in the UK. Now, I've done a bit of criteria of what I think tough is based on what you guys have taught me and based on what I've seen. We'll do toughness based on 4 things, all right? We'll do gradient, so how steep are the inclines, declines. We'll do tightness of turns, so tightness of the track itself, so how challenging it is, how sharp the bends are. We'll then do also, for those courses that do have jumps, we'll do the height and size of jumps, and then we'll also do the ground conditions. So some of the courses are known for certain testing conditions, depending on the time of year and depending on the type of grounds. We've done 5, but we've actually got 7 because we couldn't choose. So we'll do all different types. So we'll do flats, jumps and all weather. And Elle, shall I start with you?
As you've said, there are 3 kind of types of racing in the UK. As you've said, the flat jumps and the all weather. So they are different. Some courses have both flat and jumps. Some have it on the same part of the track. Some have different tracks for it, like Ascot does, for example. And I just think it's probably underappreciated in the UK how amazing and unique it is to have all these idiosyncratic tracks. Because if you ever watch racing from America, Australia, Japan, even Dubai, whether it's all weather or turf, it's pretty much flat, completely flat, oval tracks. France has a few tracks here and there that are a bit quirky, but we have, of course, like almost no 2 courses are the same in Britain, and I think that's what makes it compelling as a fan. Yeah, they all have their own challenges, which we'll come on to now.
Let me start with the first one because I was surprised by the first one. So. And I guess for me, this is probably one of the toughest I've seen personally, and I haven't been to obviously all the courses or as many courses as you boys, but Cheltenham for me was crazy. To see that ramp up to the finish was one. So there's a big incline to the finish, but also the complexity of the different types of courses within the race course, if that makes sense. So like the different types of the races they do over like Cheltenham Festival, the complexity of that, you need bloody sat-nav to, I don't know which one is it called, the long one that they do. It's just called cross country, is it?
I was going to say that. I mean, if you sat nav for.
Yeah, like if you watch that back this year, I mean, one of the horses almost went straight on and was going to turn left.
Yeah.
It's hard enough sport already, let alone with the bloody courses not know where you're going. So I would say that combined with the height of some of those jumps and then that hill, I'd say for me that's up there as one of the top toughest courses. I don't know, Duncan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that it's hard to see on TV just what the size of the gradients are until you actually go to the courses themselves. I think when I first went there, God knows how long ago, with Elle and Rosie and Dave, I was a bit like, Jesus Christ, this is, like you say, it's just the length of the finish as well. Like if they're, on the new course, which is done on the last 2 days at Cheltenham, for example, the distance they have to travel up that straight is just ridiculous. There's probably like nearly a mile in itself, if not further, up there.
I mean, it's great for spectators because obviously you can see so far.
You've got to have some binoculars on in order to be able to see them when they're coming down from there. But no, I think for me, like we mentioned this, I think when we were doing the Cheltenham previews and stuff from this year, that they obviously have the old and the new course at Cheltenham, but it's the difference between like what the new course specialism versus the old course specialism. So the old course is very much kind of for the speedier horses because it's quite tight turns, so they're not going all out full pelt the whole way around. The new course is kind of very much more like smoother bends, and they can go flat out further, so you need stamina. For horses, if you've got like a course and distance winner, it's really worth checking, like, is it on the new course or the old course? Because it can be very, very different ball games. So, yeah, I'd say 100% Cheltenham is in the top 5 without a shadow of a doubt for that.
Yeah, definitely another rabbit hole to get into when you're looking at, even within that race course, what sort of route they're doing. So
100%.
Good. All right, let's go on to the next one. Elle, I'll leave this one to you. What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's maybe with an asterisk because it's obviously not on it's a completely separate course for pretty much one race a year.
It's not used every week. Yeah.
But it can't go without a mention at the same time. So we obviously have the Grand National course, which is at Aintree, and they do have, we did show a picture when we did preview the Grand National, they do have their regulation mild-made course, as they call it, for sort of normal races throughout the year. And then at certain times, mainly on the Grand National weekend, they have this mad kind of V shape that goes miles off out into the Liverpool countryside and comes all the way back. And I've just got a picture here of some of the fences, which I would say they have significantly reduced. They've softened the core. They put a lot more birch, which is the sort of green hedgy stuff you can see on top. So they look as imposing as they once did, but actually a lot of horses can just jump straight through them. But there's so many fences in quick succession, even though it's quite a wide track and in a straight line. And obviously the races are over extreme distances, like the Grand National over 4 miles. And they do still have a couple of mad jumps, which you just wouldn't see anywhere else in the world, I would say. The most famous is the Chair, which is the biggest fence on the course right in front of the grandstand, and it's like the biggest of the fences. So it takes a lot of jumping even in these days. But probably the most favourite part of the course for me is the Canal Turn, which we did cover before, where they basically just do such a sharp left hand, almost like a right angle bend.
It's carnage.
Every year, even though they've obviously made the fences a lot safer, every year when you've got, well, not 40 horses anymore, 34 horses galloping towards a sharp bend, they try their best to sort of cut the corner and make it a smooth transition around the bend. Invariably, they all bump into each other and roll over, and yeah, you just get absolute carnage there. So
it's the drop the other side, though, isn't it? Like, I feel like the drop the other side, it's bigger than, from where they take off. The landing looks like lower down.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit.
Or if it's just a screw on the eyes, but it just looks horrendous.
And obviously, Beecher's Brook was one of the most famous fences because there was literally a brook that used to run underneath, which doesn't anymore. But that started up here and the finish bit was down here. So horses would just like basically roll over again, which thankfully they've safened, but it's still a massive spectacle. So definitely deserves a place in the top 5.
That's got to get himself off mute again.
Classic.
Oh my God, I literally did.
Brilliant. Rank amateurs in this business.
If you're chatting, Matthew, you're on mute.
Yes, I am chatting. Yes. All right, thanks. Sorry. Now, we've done 2 jumps. Let's get on to one flat then. Let's do Epsom. Dunk, we'll start with you then. Elle, I'll give you a few minutes on this one. I know you both were here this week, so...
Yeah.
What do you think of Epsom?
Again, this course, until you've been there, you don't realise just how kind of, especially from the gradient side of things and the undulations, just how high it is. I think Elle covered on the pod when we did the Derby about the gradient from the start of the Derby distance up to the peak is the same height as Nelson's Column.
Oh, that's right. I remember,
pretty freaking high. And you can actually see it when you're in the stands, literally just how much they have to climb before they come down really sharply the other side. If you find a horse that's going to Epsom that's a course and distance winner, I'd back it regardless of price almost, because it is such a unique course, such a specialist course with the camber that's there. The downhill section to Teacup Corner is so sharp. You always need to do like a Tokyo drift around the bend in order to get onto the thing. It's so unique, such a specialist course. This is one that you really, really have to, a horse that really does can handle going the uphill, but then also the downhill. And like the 5 furlong sprint, which they have there over the Derby weekend, the Dash, is the fastest of any 5 furlong sprint you're going to have on any card throughout the year. And I think Elle covered that when we were doing the Derby. So it tells you, like, you've got that downhill, but also, again, right near the end, at the finish line, it goes back uphill again. You don't notice that when you're watching on TV, but until you go there and you actually see it. So, yeah, hugely unique track, but, very impressive for horses that can handle it. Well, let's call it.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. I mean, based on that, and quite comparison to Brighton. Elle, anything to add on Epsom?
Yeah, Douglas covered it well. I think one of the points I was going to make, which I tried to capture in this picture that hopefully you'll put up, is the camber, because it's bad enough that it's a tight left-hand bend at Tottenham Corner and downhill, which obviously a lot of horses will struggle with. But the camber is so significant that leads basically into the inside rail, the opposite rail to the stands. So again, horses, they're not running on an even surface, so they're sort of rolling into each other a little bit on the inside, which I've often found if you want a horse to win there, you try and come up the middle part where it's a little bit more level. But yeah, there's a reason why they call it the greatest test of the thoroughbred, and the reason why the Derby is there, because if a horse can get through that, especially as a 3-year-old, and the fact that, as I pointed out to Duncan yesterday, to get to the start of the Derby, they have to go the whole. There's no cut through. You'd think you'd just be able to trot through the middle of the course, but they have to go all the way round.
Yeah,
they have to do the whole Derby trip to the start.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
interesting.
Need a breather after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd quite like to go to that next year. It looks a good course to go to.
You want to take a tent and be there the night before, mate.
Yeah.
Trouble getting in it. The
Sounds a bit more like Glastonbury.
Shit. I'm getting into Anorak Corner here by saying exactly what I was about to say, so I'm going to stop dead there before I go into it.
All right, Elle. Let's get into the next one then. So Hexham. I couldn't even tell you where Hexham is as a starting point.
Don't ask me.
It's in the northeast. It's probably one of the most northern tracks. What?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's one of the most northern tracks this side of the border. So yeah. Very, very much close to Scotland, to be honest. And yeah, they have jump racing there. The picture I put is one of the. If you said to me Hexham, that's the first thing I think of, because they have a lot of their fences. They have basically these bushes or trees on either side, so it's quite picturesque and something you don't see at many courses.
More bushes there than there are at Newmarket.
£10 for every bush.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's they basically go uphill the back straight, and then they turn and they come downhill. But you're right in your comments to say that it's very testing, particularly if it's soft ground, because every time I watch a race there, they are strung out like washing. It's just, some horses just absolutely hate it because it's so demanding going up and down around all the time. And even though the finish is downhill, you'd think that would help horses, but they just seem to be absolutely cooked by the time that happens. So yeah, it's definitely worthy of its place as a challenger drums track, that's for sure.
Lovely. I mean, it looks a lovely background out there. So yeah. Nice little weekend trip for sure.
Yeah, people say it's very picturesque.
Yeah, it does look it. All right, let's get on to one of our old favourites from See the Eagle Fly, which was one of the first syndicates we were involved in, Fontwell Park. Who wants to cover that one? Well, you were there, weren't you?
I'll cover that one.
I was there the day she won on her debut, which was incredible. And I'd say when we're talking about Fontwell, the only real kind of challenge elements mainly are the chase track, i.e. the fences, because basically the easiest way to cover this was just to put the map in to show you what happens. So the outside bit is the hurdles course, so that's fairly conventional. However, obviously both courses have to go up the massive hill at the end, which is not quite Cheltenham levels, but it just gets crazy towards basically just past the winning post. And you talked about certain courses being notorious for bad weather and bad ground. Fontwell, my God, they absolutely plough through the mud at Fontwell. Duncan, you'll remember when we went to
I was going to say, we were there on, was it New Year or Boxing Day?
No, it was Boxing Day, I think.
Well, they stopped the racing, didn't they? Like 2
Well,
years ago.
they did abandon it halfway
through. They were
through.
going up and down.
But the race before, I've never seen horses stop so quickly after a winning line.
Yeah.
They basically crossed the line and they stopped. You know, usually horses will gallop and then they call them down and get down to the wall. Literally stop. That's how fucked they were. So, but the most significant point is the figure of 8, as Dave always likes to point out, where if they're going round so you see where the winning post is, they go around the left-hand bend, and rather than going straight on, they cut through the middle of the course and then do a right-hand bend and then come back right-handed. So for some horses, they'd be getting dizzy going left and right and backwards and forwards the whole time. So, and then you have the sort of stiff finish at the end. And I always find that the last fence before they turn the right-hand bend absolutely gets horses out of sync every time. And it's a really challenging track, especially when the ground is soft. And I think there's probably the only jumps course in the country that has this, maybe Musselburgh. I'll have to check. But because the turn at the top bend was becoming quite dangerous when the ground was soft, they actually got rid of all the turf and put in an all-weather bend, which just looks so weird.
Yeah, that's how bad.
When they're running on grass and then 2 seconds later they're running on sand and then they're back on grass again. The horses must be like, what's going on? Am I at the
Dual
beach?
purpose, if anything.
Yeah. This probably won't make you laugh, but I was in the bookies many, many years ago, probably underage when Dave snuck me in, and Fontwell was on, and obviously I was still getting to grips with the sport, so I didn't really understand what was going on. And they'd gone round the bend, obviously on the all-weather part, and this old boy in the bookie turns around and goes, bloody hell, it's good to soft standard in places there, isn't it? Which is the going description for the all-weather, which I thought was quite fun.
True.
So yeah, that's Fontwell.
That's Fontwell, baby. All right, let's do the last two then. Dunk, I'll come to you. Chester is our next one, number 6. Now, we said 5, but there's 2 which we can not include in the top toughest courses, so we'll do 2 extra. There's your value add. What are you saying about Chester?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chester had to go on here. When I kind of looked through the list of 5 that we had, I was just thinking Chester is the one that stands out to me as probably one of the most unique courses there is out there. It's literally just a circle, pretty much a 1 mile circle. I think they call racing in a teacup is how it's been described. if you're like you've got like potentially like a largish field on the flat there, you don't want to be drawn, as we say, like Elle says, on the car park side, which is basically on the outside of it, because you really need to be drawn in maybe like the first 4 stalls in this, because if you're caught outside, because you're just constantly, there's no straight bit, it's just basically turning the entire time. So you want to be drawn inside so that your horse carries the least distance as possible compared to the ones on the outside. If you're 3 or 4 deep round all the turns, you're going to be covering so much more ground. You could be on a 5 furlong track and you're probably covering 6 furlongs because you've had all that extra distance to run around the outside. So it's mental. I think that's one of the courses, probably one of the courses I'd most like to go to, I think, just because it looks so idyllic. I think it would be awesome to go there. So I think it could be a tailed off trip there, either this year if we can or next year if not.
We need to do a little trip of it. We need to do a bit of a... how many courses have you been to, Elle? Are you keeping track of how many you've done?
I have. It's still in the boxes.
Why did I
question
ask?
is that, Matt? What kind of a question is that?
I'll have to dig it out and show you. It might be in the loft, but I have a framed picture of basically a map of the UK with all the race courses on it, and basically you scratch them off when you've been to one. So
Nice.
scratch and sniff. Tell you which ones have been.
Scratch and sniff.
Yeah, scratch and sniff. But Chester's probably number 1 for me to go to next.
Yeah, nice. All right, last but not least, one close to my my heart and also where I live at the moment is Goodwood. So Goodwood's left in there, last in the top 7, shall we say. So flat course. I mean, it looks quite tight and twisty, but at the same time, there's parts that's like very sort of long and could be quite fast. So I don't know, Elle, what your thoughts are on Goodwood.
Yeah, I just think you struggle to see any racecourse like it. You do have a few courses which have what's called a pin hook, where they start the wrong way and then go round a loop to come back. But Goodwood has sort of many variations of that at the top of the track. So it's on the Sussex Downs, as is Epsom. So it's kind of, when you see the rolling hills and you try and build a racecourse on it, that's what you've got to work with. So you have one part of the course is basically on the top of the hill, and then you have this massive long straight, but it's all downhill, whereas Epsom and Brighton do have an uphill towards the very end. Goodwood doesn't, so they go absolutely mad. And you basically got 2 different key sides to it. So on the straight, where you've got the sprints, and any course where they're kind of just turning around the bend, you've got the fact that it's a really fast race and they tend to win on the far side rail. But again, there's a camber on that side where the hill starts to fall away. But then you also have the long distance races where, as I mentioned, they start going the wrong way up the home straight. So the Goodwood Cup, for example, which is over 2 miles, and they have another race over sort of 2.5 miles, a big handicap. They'll go up, and then in the pictures you'll see they'll go all the way around the left-hand bend and then come all the way back round again. And a bit like Chester in terms of, if you're drawn too wide, especially on that bend, if you're coming around the bend on a distance, you're just covering so much more ground, and you need speedy horses that can are well balanced and can handle the turns, the undulations, the camber. It's absolutely mental. One of my favourite parts of Goodwood, I don't know if I think they still do it at the Glorious Goodwood Festival, which is literally a week away, just over a week away. They have a charity race for female amateurs. Well, not even amateurs. They're like celebrities that basically do a crash course in being a jockey. And they do a 5 furlong race basically down the hill. The amount of times there are injuries and they fall off and horses get loose.
They must be getting so fast.
I just don't understand why, of all the places to do that, why would you do it there? It's suicide.
Chuck on Epsom Downs, mate. That'll be fun.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a beautiful course. Like, it's right in the Sussex Downs, but it's got everything really. It's got slow uphill, well, not slow, but hard uphill, and then it's got a tough twisting bend, and then a fast downhill. So yeah.
I would say it's probably one of the most picturesque courses you could go to. I've been to Glorious Goodwood a few times. It's, if Ascot's a bit kind of suity and booty, it's much more kind of Panama hats and casual shirts and Pims and that sort of thing. It's very nice.
Lovely. All right, thanks, boys. So that's been the toughest, let's say the 5+2 toughest race courses that we think in the UK. Let us know what you think about those. Any that we've missed, you feel? Just let us know. Contact us on social media. All right, let's do a couple of picks for the weekend. So, Duncan, you've done 3 picks, and then we'll get out of here. So, what we're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and they'll be thick and fast as well. So, the first one's at Newbury in the 257, so Group 3 they've got there. This is on Saturday. So, I've picked Elite Status. At time of recording was 4-1. On the race last year, I'm happy to draw a line through his run at Royal Ascot in the QE2. Just broke very, very poorly and was out of position throughout the race. So, yeah, I think if he's coming back into the race as he did last year, I think it'd be tough to beat. He's going up against Regional, who also is a horse I put up on the pod, I think, at Royal Ascot. He ran in the race last year and finished, I think it was 1 3/4 lengths fourth. I just don't think the 6 furlongs is what he's looking for, like the straight 6, which he'll get at Newbury. I think 5 furlongs stiff at Ascot is one thing, but a straight 6 at Newbury won't be what he's after. So status to do it again this year as well will be the first pick.
Right. Point of order.
Order.
QE2.
Well, it's the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes, so I'll just call it the QE2. I know there's another race called the QE2, but that was it.
Get out of Anorak Corner.
Yeah, get yourself out of Anorak Corner.
I live in Anorak Corner. What are you on about?
This is my home. This is my home.
Moving on, Curragh at 3:05, so you only got, I think, 8 minutes between Newbury and the Curragh. We've gone Maghera, which is one of the horses that Elle put up, I think, on the pod for the opening race, or one of the opening races at Royal Ascot. Can't remember which day it was, Elle. But I think it was 2-1 at the time of recording. Missed Royal Ascot, as we mentioned, having been very well backed. Turns up in this Group 2 with Ryan Moore in the saddle. I just think there's a reason why they've missed Royal Ascot and, gone for this instead. They obviously think they've got a fairly decent chance. Yeah, I think Maghera at 2-1 will be a decent little bet. And then finally at Market Rasen at 3:12. So we've got a bit of jumps going on now. There's a Grade 3 there in the Summer Plate, the chase there. And you've got Ballysax Hank. He's making his chase, he's got his handicap chase debut off a mark of just 128 with the Cobfather, Harry Cobden, in the saddle.
The Cobfather.
He's running for Gavin Cromwell. I think the horse could be very, very well handicapped. And I think from what I've read, the owners love a little sneak. So he only ran 14 days ago, but that was to get a handicap mark. So he's running off, I think, 10 stone 5 in this. So I think he could be in with a cheeky little chance at 5-1. So do what you will. Good luck if you follow.
Awesome. Thanks, Duncan. And that's, I say tomorrow, but that's what, July the 19th, Saturday, yeah?
It will be indeed, yeah. July the 19th, Saturday.
Lovely. Good. All right. Thank you. Fingers crossed. And that's a wrap. Let's wrap up, shall we? Again, apologies for my nasal tones, but hopefully I'll be better next week, back to full strength. Thank you for tuning in. That's been our usual pod, but with a nice little deep dive and a few tips. Hope you've enjoyed it. But let us know what you like about this podcast. Drop us your questions, email, social media. You can watch us on YouTube. You listen to us on Apple and Spotify, and message us on tailedoffpod@gmail.com. And then obviously we've got social media, Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you like, please share. Until next time, have fun out there. Race hard, race smart, and try not to be tailed off. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Shit nuts in the background.
Shit nuts.
I was going to say, so
position. Any power at the last race down. Any power has gone, but in front of the last length, Melody Light.
By the far side, they're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning
chase. Enquiry